is we're first going to have our speaker, Allyson Barnes, and her presentation. We'll follow that by a panel discussion, and our panelists have shifted slightly. Amanda Fulmer, one of our panelists, had an emergency this morning and may or may not be able to join us online. Because of that, Gay Bennett, president of the Longview Rotary Club, has kindly agreed to step in and be a panelist. And so because of that, our panelists will now be Allyson Barnes, Karen Maines, and Gay Bennett. And if we continue with this format, what will happen is the first 20 to 25 minutes, Allyson will make her presentation. Thereafter, we will have a panel discussion, followed by any questions that y'all may have. We will then have a brief district meeting with regard to the budget, which will be chaired by John Jetter. And immediately following the brief meeting, we will then move to a quick vote with regard to that district budget and with regard to the next in this series. If you would be thinking, if you would like these in the afternoon, it has been strongly recommended that we have these immediately following the workday around 5 or 5:30, and either have them occurring on a Tuesday or a Thursday. Each will be an hour, and there should only be 5 following today's, or a total of 5, including today's session. So with that, our speaker this morning is Allyson Barnes. Allyson is originally from Tampa, Florida, and currently resides in New Orleans, Louisiana with her husband, Justin. Allyson is a physical therapist specializing in neurological rehabilitation. She is a dual member of the Rotaract Club of New Orleans, Louisiana, and the Rotary Club of Mid-City, New Orleans. She has been a member of the Rotary family since 2006 and has served as Interact and Rotaract president. She currently serves as Rotaract district chair in Rotary District 6840. She is the co-founder and executive director of Ascension Rotaract Network, MDIO, an informational organization about Rotaract and Rotary in districts 2834. Her goal is to increase collaboration between Rotary and Rotaract clubs to better serve communities. Outside of Rotary, Allyson loves to cook, play disc golf, and cheer her LSU Tigers. Allyson?
Awesome. Hello, everyone. It's great to see everyone, some new faces and some faces I've seen before. I am going to share my screen. I have a little presentation to kind of start discussing some Rotaract and Rotary partnerships. Let's see. All right, so let me see if I can get this to go. Nope, we're just gonna do it this way. That is perfectly fine. I can zoom in. Oop, too far. See, even us millennials still have issues with technology. It's a learning process for us all. All right. Oop. So, thank you, DG Jack. I appreciate the introduction and the ability to come speak to y'all. My computer is freezing like no one's business. Okay, so what I'm here to talk to you guys about today is Rotaract and Rotary partnerships. So, as you said, I've been part of the Rotary family since 2006. I've been with Interact, Rotaract, and now a dual member. So I've kind of seen the gambit, and I'm still learning, which is really incredible. So the first thing is, what is Rotaract? Rotaract is now for young professionals. It is for young adults. Recently, RI has removed the age limit. So bear with me through this presentation. Some of you may have seen something similar at Fort Wayne, or even last year, or even 3 months ago. RI is continuously changing what is going on with Rotaract. So these definitions are constantly changing. So kind of try your best to keep up with it, because it's really important that we keep involved our young adults and young professionals. So right now, what is Rotaract? It's just another club experience for young adults. We are, without the age limit, we're really trying to emphasize that young adult aspect. Rotary has left it open to interpretation. So young adult could be 25, 35, or if you're young at heart, 65. But we'll go into a little bit more into detail about what exactly does that mean. With that, Rotaract really has 4 main components. It's the development, the service, the friendship, and the collaboration. I get this question all the time. Well, if Rotaract doesn't have an age limit anymore, then why join Rotaract? Why join Rotary? I think the main difference between a Rotaract Club and a Rotary Club is the emphasis on development. The development from a philanthropic aspect as well as a professional development aspect. If you think about it, so I joined Rotary 4 years ago. I was 23 years old. Can you imagine if I joined a Rotary Club at 23 being like, I would have been lost, I may have been scared, I may not have had an opportunity to even get onto a committee because I was 23, still not sure who I was still in school, still trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do. By being in a developmental stage through Rotaract, I kind of got a little bit of a time to adjust, to be able to really focus and learn different leadership skills. With Rotaract, and RI now has really been increasing leadership skills, leadership workshops. Through Rotaract, I've received resume workshops, mock interviews. I've done public speaking courses. If anyone has been following me in the last 4 years, 4 years ago when I did presentations, my heart rate was 185 beats per minute. I was running a marathon whenever I spoke. Now, I'm getting more comfortable with it. It's because I've been taking workshops and opportunities through Rotaract, because Rotaract is providing these free opportunities for young professionals to develop their skills, to develop how to have these meetings. How do you run a board meeting? How do you sit on a committee? And how do you effectively communicate your ideas? A lot of Rotaractors have some really big ideas, but they just haven't learned yet how to communicate it. What you learn in school is not necessarily completely transferable to the real world. And allowing for Rotaract to have that developmental safe place is really important. So if anyone ever asks now, well, what's the difference? It's no longer an age thing. It's where are they in their development? Do they need a little bit more nurturing? Do they need that more mentorship? Do they need a little bit more of that ability to honestly fail? Learn how to get nervous and get uncomfortable in a place that's nurturing, that allows them, okay, well, we can improve here and let's continue to grow. In order to be the best leader you can, you have to be the best version of yourself. And with Rotaract, you're really focusing on that development aspect so you can become the best leader in your community. So just like Rotary, Rotaract also focuses on service and friendship. Those are 2 major components of Rotary, and it's why we love Rotary so much. But then also with Rotaract, we focus on the collaboration. With the recent elevation of Rotaract, of being a Rotary partner, we now have a new partner in service. We are working together. How do we take our two ideas and we come together? But Rotaract also has another component that's really interesting, the collaboration with Interact. I've been involved with a lot of the Interact conferences these last couple of years, and one of the biggest feedbacks I always get back is, I am so glad there was Rotaractors there. Why? To be honest, to bridge the age gap, to bridge the generational gap. Rotaract allows to be that in-between between Interact and Rotary. With the mentorship from Rotary to Rotaract, Rotaract can then help mentor the Interactors. It kind of allows for more of a seamless transition. I lost my chat thing. Oh, there it is. Okay. So it allows that more of that transition, which is really important with our Rotary family. So some updated information. Rotaract now is no longer a program. If you go look at the logo of Rotaract, it now says Rotary Partner, no longer a Rotary program. This elevation of Rotaract has been tremendous for Rotaract, as well as what this will all mean. It's shaping a lot. This is constantly changing. In the last year and a half, what that means has changed drastically. So bear with me. This is the most up-to-date information that I have. Right now, Rotaract is now a new membership type within RI. Starting July 1, Rotaract will no longer require a Rotary sponsor. When I say require, that means it's no longer needed, but it's still encouraged. It's still encouraged to have that partnership and that relationship building. Rotary took away the requirement because they found it to be a barrier into starting a club. So they're allowing it for a Rotaract club to get started and then find a Rotary sponsor. Also, kind of what I talked about just a second ago, Rotaract clubs will be able to co-sponsor an Interact club, which is really exciting to think that we can really start getting that hands-on experience of the full mentorship continuum of Rotary and Rotaractors and Interactors all working together. Starting July 1, Rotaractors will also have access to the foundation. Because they're going to have access to the foundation, Rotaract will now have to pay dues. It's not going to be a whole lot. It is going to be a whole $8 a year per capita, which is the whole point, is to maintain affordability for Rotaractors. The $8 will increase over time. Again, these numbers are always changing. The next COL or Council on Legislation, they will be solidifying the final dues, but they're estimating it to be between $25 and $40 a year per capita. Again, still trying to make Rotaract and Rotary affordable, but now Rotaractors will have access to district grants. They will need a co-sponsor from a Rotary club, but they're now getting access to the foundation. I'm actually on a committee working on educating Rotaractors about the foundation because they found it to be one of the biggest laps in knowledge for Rotaractors. They don't understand the vastness of the foundation and really Rotary in general. So we're working on creating webinars and seminars and all of different informational tools to send out to Rotaractors and Rotarians to know more about the foundation, which is really exciting. And finally, the last thing RI is really pushing for is collaboration. RI is asking that to start including Rotaractors in every district committee. Again, slowly introducing this, slowly adding people into just not a voting member, but simply a voice. Little things. For example, our district conference, I am on my district committee for that, and they were talking about, we're going to do the price for this and price for that, and I was like, well, what about Rotaractors? Are we doing a reduced cost for them? Are we doing a no meal option? Are we going to do homestays to kind of help bring them in? And just simply having a Rotaract voice and someone who's still eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on the regular because of budgeting. Being mindful of that and having that voice in a committee can be very helpful in really engaging younger professionals and those who are just starting up. Rotaract is also now asking for district and zone level representation. RI has been doing a lot at the international level. There is now Rotaract committees who are then starting to become part of the zone level meetings as well. Again, just trying to increase that collaboration. Through the district, they're asking that every district start having a district Rotaract representative, a DRR. Yes, another Rotary acronym to add, a DRR. That is a elected Rotaractor who then will serve on the district level, and what their job is to be the voice of Rotaract. Hey, the Rotaract clubs are doing this, or hey, Rotaract wants to partake in this. They're going to be the voice to be able to help with that increased communication. With that, RI is also asking for equal training opportunities. How do we get our Rotaractors to go to PETS? We've all been to PETS. We've learned so much from that. But how do we teach those same skills to Rotaractors? Because, well, Rotaract clubs have the same issues every Rotary club does. How do you retain your members? How do you keep them engaged? How do you still make it fun, but you're still putting service first? Rotaractors have the same issues, but why can't we have the same access to training? Let's go to PETS. Let's go to these district training events. Let's have access and start communicating. And finally, just even at a club level, start getting Rotaractors into co-lead some projects. Put them on your committees in your clubs. Allow them to start that public speaking. Start to, how do you hold the engagement of a room? Let them start that. Of course, slow and steady. You don't want to, like, I've seen, unfortunately, a lot sometimes, like, oh, look, we're so excited, Rotaractors will join us and be the leader of it. But they give them almost too much responsibility, and it's almost setting them up to fail. So be cognizant of it, that they're learning and they're trying to grow, but put them in a position where they can succeed and learn these things. Learn that there's more than just showing up the day of a project. How do you make the phone calls? How do you coordinate it? How do you run the website? How do you run the Facebook event? All of these things, it's a skill that you have to learn, and the only way to learn it is to, well, do it. So one of the questions I get quite a lot is, all right, so there's no age limit. Rotaract is significantly cheaper. So why not a Rotaract Club or a satellite club? Why does this always, why Rotaract Club versus a satellite club? I think both are very important. I think both have their place in our Rotary family, but they both emphasize something completely different. With Rotaract, kind of what I keep the theme of this is that development. It's allowing them to be in a position where they can learn to be a leader while reducing the cost and time barrier. Whereas a satellite club is an opportunity to engage with Rotary, and it reduces those barriers of, you know, lunch or morning meetings. Typically satellite clubs or evening clubs or after-hour clubs. They don't meet as frequently. So both are very necessary. Both are necessary. But it just depends on what they're looking for. Again, I tell this story all the time. People laugh at it in my district because now I've become a little bit more vocal. But when I first joined Rotary, I was at my very first district training event, just like this, in person, and I was so scared. I was looking at all of these people and I was like, oh my goodness, this is a successful lawyer. This is a great businessman. This person has their life together. You know, they're talking about, they have a 401k plan. They know what health insurance is. They know what an IRA is. I'm sitting over here like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I here? Why am I even part of this? Rotary was so intimidating for me to sit there and be amongst the leaders of our community that I didn't talk. I didn't say anything. I was so nervous I couldn't be myself. With Rotaract, I was able to slowly get introduced to these people, slowly meet these amazing people that I now call mentors. It allows young professionals to begin that process of engaging with Rotary in, honestly, a less intimidating way. It allows you to kind of break the ice in a way of, oh yeah, I'm with the Rotaract Club, and you start discussing it that way. We laugh. It took me 2.5 years in my district to talk to one of our district leaders. 2.5 years for me to gain the courage to do so. And I think it's just something to be aware of, that Rotaractors are intimidated by y'all. Y'all are impressive people. You are the leaders of the community. You have your quote unquote life together from someone who maybe just graduated school, still in school, trying to figure out who they are and what they want to be. To be in a room with y'all is very intimidating. So I feel like Rotaract allows for that, and satellite clubs allows for you to start engaging even more past that next level. So I just like to differentiate those two. With Rotaract, there are two specific models. There are the community-based and the university-based. Most people are familiar with the university-based clubs, which are the ones that meet at universities, typically affiliated with a university. Now, a community-based club, easiest way to describe it is, well, it's a Rotary club. I mean, they do exactly the same. They have a board meeting, they have meetings. Here's a picture of my Rotaract Club actually talking with another Rotaract Club from being in New Orleans. We had during the tricentennial, we had the Rotaract Club of Orléans, France come to New Orleans. So this is one of our socials that we had, where, I mean, it looks like any other Rotary Club meeting. We were sitting down, we were eating, we were enjoying fellowship, and we were talking about community service projects that Orleans and Orléans, France can partner together. Very similar, there's no difference. It's simply maybe an age difference. And honestly, as you can see, we met at night, after hours, after work. I like this continuum here of the Rotary family. We have instead of looking at our Rotary family as age marks or age benchmarks in order to age up or to move to the next one, I like to view it as focusing on our skill development. So with Interact, we're all pretty familiar with Interact. It's about that initial engagement with community service. This is when you start teaching the high schoolers that it's important to give back, not just a line on your resume, because let's be real, I was one of those interactors. I did Interact solely because my dad was a Rotarian. He told me I had to, and it looked good on my college resume. Like, that's what he told me. So that's what I did. But that's when you just start getting engaged with it. I'm like, okay, well, I can show up and do community service. It's good, makes me feel good. And it's really a superficial introduction to what community service is. University-based Rotaract Clubs is that introduction to leadership. Now you're a Rotaractor, you have to start developing your own plans, your own service projects. You're also looking on practicing your leadership skills. How do you start organizing? How do you work with the university and the Rotary Club and your club itself? I feel like that transitions really well into a community-based Rotaract Club. Community-based Rotaract Clubs tend to be a little bit older. For example, my Rotaract Club, the average age in our club is 28. We're at the older age of it. Our skills are different. My club is, we all either have a doctorate, in process of the doctorate, or minimally have a master's. Again, it's my friend group, so we all tend to be a lot more higher education involved, is kind of how our club started. But because of that, we're at a different point than university. We're trying to improve and fine tune our leaderships. We're trying to use our skills that we learned in school and our skills as professionals. How do we implement that into the community? How do we take that one step further? We have a lot of medical people, so how do we provide medical-based services in our community? It's kind of more of what we tend to lean towards. Where then Rotary is what we call the developed professionals. You have the skill sets, you've been in the workplace, you know office dynamics, you know how to speak, you know how to simply, I mean, it sounds silly, but you know how to write an email. You'd be surprised how many, you don't learn the etiquette of email writing. You don't learn that in school. And those are things you practice within Rotaract. I think the biggest thing I'm trying to get at is that we are the Rotary family. It doesn't matter if you're an Interactor or a Rotaractor or a Rotarian. We're all in this together. We are all family. We all care about our communities, or we wouldn't be doing this. We really just want to get along. Some of the questions I get a lot are, well, how do I treat different people? Or how do I interact with this person? Well, how do you talk to your family? I think there's three main things that we do with our families. We communicate, we be present, and we express gratitude. I think one of the reasons why we all got into Rotary was because we love the relationship building. And unfortunately, at times, we've kind of gotten away from that communication of something simple of just like, hey, how are you doing? Or did you see the football game last night? Families go further than that. They have deep, meaningful conversations. They try to understand where the person is coming from. And how do we start introducing that back into our Rotary family? Not just within our Rotary family, but with the Rotaractors, with the Interactors. Let's get past that superficial, where are you going to college or where did you go to college type thing. It's a great starting point. But how do you really get to know people? How do you start building those relationships? And I think that's really important, is to really hone in on those communications. Take an extra minute. Maybe you're not going to know all the Rotaractors in your local chapter, but really get to know 2 or 3 of them. Really start having those meaningful conversations. Being present is huge. Right now, we live in a day and age of technology, which is great because we get to be able to do this. But at the same time, I bet if I ask right now, how many of you have your phones right next to you? We all probably do. And we're always being constantly distracted by the phones and the computers, and information is coming at us very quickly. But how do we remove distractions and practice that active listening? We really have a tendency right now to begin to think of our response before the person even finished talking. And a lot of the times with Rotaractors, sometimes I get feedback of, well, it just feels like they just tried to get to know me just very superficially. They just wanted to know, oh yeah, guess what? I met that Rotaractor at the conference. Instead of really being active listeners and trying to build a relationship. And lastly, gratitude. Really acknowledge people when they're doing something good. They're trying to make things go right. And really just having that open communication and expressing that, hey, guess what? You're doing something right. Let's see if we can make it better. I think with those three things, our Rotary family can grow. If it's within our Rotary clubs, if it's within our Rotaract clubs, our Interact clubs, or a partnership between the three. I think those are the three keys. And stop looking at them as, oh, they're just a millennial or they're just a boomer, because there's a lot of negative stereotypes. But how do we get past those stereotypes and really begin to communicate and be present and become that Rotary family that we all joined and loved? I mean, Paul Harris said it himself. The foundation upon which Rotary is built is friendship. On no less firm ground could it have stood. I think this is so important that we need to get back to the friendships. We need to get back to the development of having communication and being able to be present and express gratitude and be positive amongst each other. That is how our Rotary and Rotaract families are going to grow. So why Rotary? We could have been part of any organization, but we all chose Rotary. And I can tell you for one thing, it is not for the Rotary meals that we usually have at district conferences or district events, or even our local chapters. It's the joke of Rotary chicken. We've all probably heard that joke before once or twice. We're not there because of that. We're there for, well, three things. We're there for relationships, not just local relationships you're meeting in your clubs or your districts, but even global. I mean, I'm having an opportunity here. I'm sitting in my home in New Orleans and able to engage with y'all because of Rotary. I mean, our paths probably would have never crossed if it wasn't for Rotary. My best friend now is up in Richmond, Virginia. To this day, we have never met in person, but through the power of Rotaract, this girl has become my absolute best friend. I've only known her for a year now, and she's joking that I'm going to be her maid of honor. Still haven't met her in person. Might be the first time, might be at her wedding. But those are the powerful relationships that why we join Rotary. It allows us to start accessing amazing people, not just in our local communities, but our global communities. I was on a call last week. It was us in the United States and India and Australia, and we were talking about ways that what's working in their Rotaract clubs and to help fight COVID-19. They reached out to New Orleans because, as you probably have heard, we're a great hotspot right now. But how do we learn from each other? And those are the relationships of why we joined Rotary, because it's so amazing to be able to connect with these people. We also have mentors, just the ability to grow as a professional and philanthropically. So that one person probably introduced you to Rotary. They probably grabbed you by the hand and said, hey, come with me, we're gonna come do this service project, or hey, come see this, come check this out. For me, my first Rotary mentor was my dad. He was a Rotarian, and I was in the Interact Club his Rotary Club was sponsoring, hence why I had to be in Interact, because he told me to. But he was the first person to tell me there's more to service than just showing up. And how do we find the needs in the community, and how do we address it? He started implanting these seeds into my head about how do you grow this? And not only do you grow a project, but how do you get others to care about it too, and get other people to realize the issues, and how do you improve it? All of us had a mentor. And now over time, as we spend more and more time with Rotary, you probably have a handful or a dozen of people that you've reached out to and you continually to learn from. If you're not continuing to learn, then what's the point? We're always learning to grow. We're always learning to grow our skills in whatever capacity, if it's speaking or giving back or organization or whatever it may be. We all have mentors, and Rotary is a great place to start interacting. Every relationship is an opportunity to grow yourself and help others, which is an amazing attribute of Rotary. And finally, Rotary and Rotaract, it's an opportunity to serve, but it's more than just serving, because we can go and provide community service at any nonprofit. We can show up, we can go to the food pantry, we can, pick up trash, whatever it may be. But Rotary allows us to have an opportunity to do more, to make sustainable change. Using fundraising and district grants and global grants, we're able to make infrastructure changes to help better the communities, not just in that moment, but for a lifetime. We're able to make those bigger impacts, which is why we all love the fact that We love being Rotarians. We love being part of the Rotary family. It's something more. It's something deeper and more meaningful. With that, we have created, those are kind of our pillars, the things we've been alluding to is the pillars of Ascension Rotaract Network, the MDIO, which DGE Jack alluded to. MDIO, another Rotary acronym, Multi-District Information Organization. What we are really honing in is that I, the information. How do we assimilate Rotaract into our Rotary districts? How do we incorporate them? How do we collaborate? And that's what Ascension is all about, is creating that information. Our 3 pillars are simple, the same things we've been talking about: mentorship, education, and connection. I'm one of the co-founders, and a lot of the ideals that myself and my best friend in Richmond, Alex Ritchie, she is the other co-founder. These are the 3 things we really find important of what makes Rotaract so unique, and how do we become closer to our Rotary partners. Ascension is very different than a lot of the other MDIOs around the world because we are emphasizing the partnership and the collaboration with Rotary. We can't do this without y'all. We want to be your partner. We want to grow and learn. Alex and I are one of the biggest Rotary cheerleaders. We have seen what it does and the amazingness, the vastness, and the incredible people we've met along the way. And we want more people to be involved. And by growing the Rotaract Ascension Network, we're able to help create that collaboration and help really break down barriers to begin to become a full Rotary family. So we are doing a regional mentorship because I feel like I've tried to emphasize a lot is that mentorship is very important. We want to get back to our roots and start building relationships. We are doing a regional mentorship program through Ascension. Ascension is Rotary Zones 28 through 34. If you don't have the Rotary map memorized, like myself, I'm still learning that map. It's always changing. Essentially, we are serving the central and eastern time zones of the United States. So like Louisiana, Arkansas, Minnesota, and then all the way over to the East Coast. So we have quite the region. If you want to partner with someone and you want to get to know a Rotaractor across our region, let me know. We can sign you up. We're always looking for more people to get involved. So I guess my biggest things for y'all is our call to action. If you are interested in this mentorship program, email Ascension. Let us know. We want to get you guys involved. I really do believe the mentorship is a way to start communicating, start talking, get some intergenerational ideas going. You'd be surprised what you can come up with when you have people from different points of view working together. I'm also challenging you to have authentic conversations with young professionals. Try to get away from the football talk and the did you catch that game? I know there's no any sports right now, but stop talking about the weather. I know COVID-19 is a big conversation right now, but use the time instead of to like say, oh yeah, you're quarantined too. Let's talk about what makes them excited. Get to know them, get to know their family, get to know where they're from, and also learn about each other. Everyone has a story to tell, and you sometimes have to sit back and listen. And I think that's really important. And then third, develop some Rotaract infrastructure in your club and district. Be able to engage the Rotaractors just past the, hey, come do this project with us. Have them opportunities to come join your meetings or figure out ways to have them on committees. Being mindful of their schedules with university-based and community-based. They may be working professionals and, be mindful of the differences, but coming together, I think is going to be incredible. Lastly, I want to connect with y'all. We're always looking for ways to connect. Here is my email. I am on Facebook. I was actually telling Jack about this. My conspiracy theory is that Facebook is still relevant because all Rotarians use it, all Rotaractors use it. Because of Rotary, I think Facebook is still extremely relevant because that is how all Rotary is continuing to communicate. I'm also on Instagram because Instagram's kind of the way that a lot of the Rotaract clubs have been communicating. So with that being said, I will open it up to questions. And thank you all so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to slide down because I do have all the contact information here. It has my contact information, Ascension's, and then our Alex Ritchie is the current executive director. I am executive director-elect, so I'll be serving next Rotary year. but this is the best way to communicate with us. We would love to hear from you. Any questions about Rotaract or Rotary or just whatever it may be, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Allyson, thank you so very much for the presentation this morning. How would you like to handle questions?
If anyone has them, do you want me to do it through chat? With my share screen up, I wasn't able to look at the chat. Do you want me to?
Allyson,
I think our PDG John Jetter was keeping up with the chat. John, you want to field a few of those questions to Allyson?
Primarily, I've seen in the chat at this point, Allyson, 2 questions. One may have been answered, but I'm going to ask it anyway, is how can we go about locating Rotaracts in our area?
So that's the $1 million question. The reason why we created Ascension was there was no communication with Rotaract clubs within a district or even cross-district borders. Slight tangent. New Orleans and Baton Rouge were in different Rotary districts and they weren't communicating. So how are we supposed to send our interactors from New Orleans up to LSU when they didn't know there was a Rotaract club? Honestly, sometimes the districts don't even know where their Rotaract clubs are. And that's what we're doing with Ascension. It's kind of a grassroots where we're telling people that we exist and if they can reach out and try to find them. Right now we are doing, our team is literally on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just searching for Rotaract clubs to see if they're even active, because RI does have a database, but most Rotaract or even Rotarians don't even know that you're supposed to have your Rotaract clubs on Club Finder. So right now we are just looking, and the goal is to find them would be to come through Ascension, and then Ascension will be able to find them. Our goal is to find every single Rotaract club in Rotary zones 28 through 34. As you can imagine, it's a pretty big feat that we have. Is, like you said, how many clubs do you have, Rotaract clubs do you have in your district?
Shirley?
Currently?
I do not remember exactly. I would say less than 10, but on the district website, I can provide a report and with all the contacts within our district. So I can provide that and send that out.
No, that'd be great. So I think for your district, it maybe it starts with maybe one, let's find some young professionals who would want to start a Rotaract club. So we can get one going, or 2, also reaching out to be a mentor, talk to other Rotaractors across the country to figure out what their Rotaract clubs are doing, so you can bring that information back to your district to start a club.
Allyson, maybe another question, but it's probably an extension of this one, the one you just answered, and that was, how do we track former Rotaractors to invite them to Rotary?
That's another great question, because unfortunately, a lot of people didn't realize, even myself, when I was a university-based Rotaractor, I didn't know that we were supposed to be on My Rotary. I didn't know that we were supposed to update our membership through that. I had no idea that was a thing. How to find them, that's the hard part. It's unless they put their contact information up through like My Rotary, you can find it through like the alumni section. If not, it's just going to be word of mouth. And I know it's hard to find the alumni through Interact and RILA because of minors. So Rotaract should be easier. But if you think about it, there's like 750,000 interactors worldwide, and there's only 200,000 Rotaractors. And that's it. There's a huge jump. There's a huge disparity between it. So that, I know, I wish I had a better answer. It's right now, that's our biggest problem with Ascension, is we are word of mouth, just trying to find these Rotaractors.
Okay. Another question that was raised is there a minimum number of individuals that are necessary to begin a Rotaract club?
As of right now, they've changed the form. All you really need at this point is the president and the advisor at this point. That's all you would need for RI standards. When I advise people who are starting a club, I really recommend having a strong core of 5. When I say 5, I mean not 5, yeah, I'll do it. No, like 5 really strong people who are dedicated to putting it together, because the biggest issue you have with Rotaract is, honestly, it's not their priority. They just started working or they're still in school, and you have so many, they might be starting a family. There's a lot more barriers. So having 5 kind of gives you a little bit of wiggle room for fluidity in case someone gets a job transfer, or all of a sudden, you know, their wife or themselves become pregnant, they may have to disappear. The 5 gives you a comfort zone to really start building a club.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the programs, the structure, and the meals of your particular Rotaract Club?
So my Rotaract Club, we met at a bar pre-COVID-19. We did not do meals. We just met at a bar and we talked, and we did it that way. We are now transitioning into a purely e-club. We found that even meeting at a bar at 7 o'clock was difficult for young professionals to get there. Like myself, I'm a physical therapist, and I see patients till at least 6 o'clock every evening, plus documentation. Me getting to the bar at 7 I was running in at 7. 7 o'clock is still too difficult. Plus with eating and meals, those days, it became very long days, which is why we're transitioning more to the e-club, because we're finding it to be better for our population that we're working with. So yes.
Okay. Question that just popped up. What examples have you seen that help launch a club other than the 5 engaged Rotaractors? What was the catalyst for some of the other new Rotaracts that you've seen?
I think the biggest thing is finding 5 individuals. I'm trying to think of like the best way for the catalyst, because it's people who care. It's people who want to do it. Starting a club is really difficult. Just to put it in perspective, I'm assuming most of y'all have had some position in your club of either president or secretary or anything like that. How much work did you have to put into it? Now, mind you, you're starting from scratch. And with Rotaract, we don't have as many, our guidelines for how a club runs is even more vague than a Rotary club. We have even more freedom, which could be a good thing and a bad thing. Finding 5 people to find that structure might not be, it's really just finding 5 individuals. Even you could maybe get away with 4, but it's just, starting a club is very difficult. I'm not gonna lie. It is very, very difficult. Especially like I'm seeing here in a more of a rural area. I found for Rotaract clubs, we've had more success with online-based ones, especially now. It's almost like an excuse to start it there, and then having socials. Like we have socials once a month in person to kind of help with bridging the fellowship aspect.
John,
Okay.
Allyson, thank you all so much. Let's hold the rest of the questions for right now. Let me introduce the other panel members so that we can get them on and have a little bit of interaction there. Karen Maines, Karen, you're on, right? Hello, Karen, are you unmuted?
Yes, I'm here, Jack. Thank you.
Okay, fabulous. Karen's a tireless community volunteer residing in Longview, Texas with her husband, Randy. She is a 2nd-generation Longview-Gregton Rotarian. She currently serves as Longview-Gregton Rotary's president and has been involved with RILA for 14 years, currently serving on the RILA 5830 board. She may or may not tell you her RILA name is Iron Maiden. Karen is a past Longview PRC rodeo chair, and through her efforts, we now have a Rotary E-Club in District 5830. Outside of Rotary, Karen follows Oklahoma, and she says, Boomer. Gay Bennett. And Gay, I think you're on there too. Gay is the current president of the Rotary Club of Longview, where she's been a member for 8 years. She is the events chair for M. Roberts Media, a print and digital media company. She volunteers with a number of nonprofits and has served on the board of directors of the Great Texas Balloon Race for the last 12 years. She is, by the way, also a flag team captain, and until recently, my flag team captain. She is also a member of Rotary Fellowship. She is currently a member of the International Fellowship of Flying Rotarians. And she points out that she and Randy have forgotten to have kids, but does have 2 dogs. And in her spare time, she enjoys cooking, patio sitting, and traveling, even if it's just a caddo. Ladies?
Hello.
Hello, everybody. If I can jump in first, just because, you know me, I like to talk. Something Allyson said was addressing the difficulty of getting a group of 5 together. And I think here in District 5830, the reason we've had success with our E-Club formation is because it came from a group of young people that started out in our RILA program 25 years ago. They became Rotarians in all the places where they have moved. And so right now our E-Club is made up of a little over 22 members, and they're in 3 different time zones. So they are from Boston to Denver, Colorado. And so right now they're thrilled to be Rotarians because many, all of the officers have actually been Rotarians in brick and mortar clubs. They've done the lunch chicken, that kind of thing. So they're excited. So they're a little step up from just the beginning stages, but they took it immediately to an E-Club format because of their diverse living situations. But they're so excited. They meet every week in their E-Club format, and they expect perfect attendance. I'm shocked. They're real strict. They've got Gene Robertson's written all over them. And so they are excited. They're going to be doing service projects starting this coming, well, here it is, April. They're starting this month doing service project. So I'm excited for them. I'm excited for our district, but we did have a leg up because they had that background in RILA.
And to jump onto that, that's typically where it starts. Like for our club, I was the catalyst being an Interact and Rotaract, and then, well, the president's my husband, so he got voluntold because I had too many Rotary responsibilities. But he's been around it. He's sitting in the other room now. He's heard all of my Zoom conversations. People who know about Rotary are typically your catalysts, RILA, your Interactors, and all of your Rotaractors are your places to start for catalyzing.
Jack, did you want us to talk about building membership in our clubs as what we had discussed previously?
I think that'd be a great idea, and I know that Gay's had some great experiences with that, as have you, Karen.
Well, let's let Gay talk about her experiences because they've had a huge increase in membership this year.
We have done, I think, a pretty good job in increasing our membership. So far this year, we have added 14 new members. Now, our net gain is smaller than that because there's always that rate of attrition. But in order to keep ahead of that rate of attrition, you do have to add a lot of new members. So right now we're at 14 new ones as of the 1st of March. And actually we have 2 more in the pipeline who just haven't been to orientation or been introduced to the club as new members because of this thing we're experiencing globally. But I'll say, I've noticed the trend was at the beginning of the Rotary year when I took over as president, we talked about membership. And we had, to be honest with you, we had 1 new member, Joyce Lanfata-Judemy, who was like a membership dynamo. She personally has brought in, I think, 6 new members. And she was a great bridge to fresh new members. She's a community activist. She works with several nonprofits. She just started a new nonprofit during this Rotary year. But Joycelyn, to me, is an example of when you get the right new member who can engage others, it really, it dominoes. I mean, she's been fabulous. And then at the beginning of this calendar year in January, in our first meeting in January, we announced we were going to have a membership drive and we need new members. And we said, let's think strategically at this. Let's target recruits. What classifications do we not have in our club? You know, we've got tons of bankers and insurance guys, but what are the classifications that we're missing in our clubs? And also, who are people in the community or positions in the community that we don't have in our club? I'll say this, the county judge, Gregg County Judge is in our club, and 2 other county commissioners are in our club. We have several city employees in our club, but we were missing some strategic people. And we said, let's talk to these people. And then we sort of targeted the recruits, and not only those classifications or positions, we said, who are your friends that you think will bring something to the club? Who are your friends who are doers? Who are your friends that will be immediately engaged as soon as they join the club? And so we started a membership drive with incentives. We just said, look, we want to reward you. If you're a new member and you bring in a new member in the first 6 months, we're going to reward you for that. And it could be anything from Paul Harris points, because our club has a ton of stored Paul Harris points. It could be a gift certificate to a restaurant. It could be, you know, anything that would incentivize those people. And so we've had really good luck. We've six new members just since January, which has been awesome. But we legitimately asked people. In fact, that first meeting we broke people, each table became a team. And we said, look, over the Rotary chicken, you're sitting with this table with these people, so you're now on a team with these people. And we want every team, every table to bring in a new member in the next 6 months. And it's worked. Now, we had some momentum going. I hope we don't lose that over the next couple of months. Back to you, Karen.
Good job, Gay. Y'all have done a great job over there at Rotary Longview. I steal your ideas because they're excellent ideas. And you're right. I hope we get back to the momentum we were getting. We read a new member's name through our Zoom meeting just this past week. We had a Zoom board meeting, so now we're trying to bring in new members, even though we may meet this way for a little while longer. Jack, you were saying something about Rotaract in our district earlier, and personally, I don't have a lot of experience with Rotaract clubs because we have our Interact club at Pine Tree, and I guess we've just fallen into the routine of saying Rotary, 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 Rotary without giving them that bridge step. So I loved Allyson's presentation, and I wrote 4 pages of notes because I'm a note taker. And so that combined with the PowerPoint, I'm going to strategize with the board on how we can find that bridge between the Interactors and the Rotary Club, because I think she hit on a key point there when she was talking about not knowing about Rotary. Little things that some of us old timers take for granted, like My Rotary and Club Runner and things like that. I think she's exactly hit the nail on the head when she's talking about we expect them to come out of Interact knowing everything about Rotary, and that's just not the case. When I got into Longview Gregton, we had a mentorship program. I was immediately assigned to Shirley Qualls. Now it was Shirley Hook back then, but I was immediately put under her wing, and that was the craziest thing ever, because if she said, I need you to, I said yes, without ever asking what it was. Now that got me into a lot of deep water over my head, because then Mickey Melton comes to me and says, I need you to run a golf tournament. And I'm going like, I don't know a thing about golf. But you say yes and you learn. But Allyson brings up a very important point, and that is that not everyone is as eager to say yes as I tend to be. I'm easily told what to do. Some people are more intimidated. Allyson said that she was very intimidated by the old timers, you know, the gray hair in the group. And so I think that's an excellent point, Allyson, and I really appreciate all the points that you brought up. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And one of the analogies I've kind of been using to kind of help explain the Rotaract bridge is Major League Baseball. I don't know how familiar you are with it, but essentially your interactors are your high schoolers coming straight out of high school. Do you expect them to put on a New York Yankees jersey and play right out of high school? No. Major League Baseball saw that as a flaw, so they've created a farm system, a system where they can go and have at-bats, practice game strategy, and guess what? Still be part of the family organization, still be part of Major League Baseball. But typically, Major League Baseball games versus minor league baseball games, they have a different feel, a different culture. They bring different things. Not one is better than the other. It's just different. Minor league games tend to be a little bit more fun, and they have a little more gimmicks involved. Also, the quality may not be as strong as a professional, but it's allowing for those players to continue practicing. So guess what? When they get that phone call from the Karens and the Jacks of the world being, hey, I need you, they feel more comfortable because they've had at-bats to practice and they're ready to join the Rotary family. So it's just a little analogy I like to view, just because people tend to relate to that a little bit more of let them practice, let them become who they are. You can't expect a high schooler to wear a New York Yankees jersey right off the bat.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm really, I had no idea that we could now have a Rotaract Club that was not attached to a college or university. And have I been living under a rock? But this is great news for us in particular, because at our club visioning a couple of years ago, we've been specifically trying to think about how can we get a Rotaract Club and nurture that. Well, here in Longview, our major university, LeTourneau, we have not had very good luck with them at all. And a past president of our club is the athletic director there. And she said, look, here's the way this works at LeTourneau. It's a private Christian university. Their students are already tapped so much for community projects and for projects. They're already so engaged because of the kind of university it is. Rotaract is not offering them a whole lot. For me, the notion that we can now have a Rotaract Club that's not attached to LeTourneau or Kilgore College is great, because in our recruiting, we've done a really good job of recruiting under 50 and even under 40. But the 25 to 35-year-olds, that's a really, really hard demographic, because what Allyson said, they're starting families, they're building a career. If we can offer them a Rotaract program that's not attached to the university, I think this opens up a whole lot to us. And this could be a really, really good avenue to grow young Rotarians.
No, and it's the perfect, again, I'm also extremely biased. I live and breathe Rotaract, but I do believe it's the future because it's a long-term investment from Rotary. It's something that you're not going to see an immediate change in your membership overnight, maybe not in a year or two, but if you continue to grow Rotaract and you show them the love of Rotary slowly and letting them just kind of get acclimated into the Rotary family, in 5, 10, 15 years, you're basically creating a pipeline. Think of all the interactors you have in your district. Give them a safe place where they can continue to be part of the Rotary family in a safe environment through Rotaract. Allow them to continue to develop. And when they're ready, they join the Rotary family. You're holding their hand through all of the different phases of their life. And I mean, how many clubs in every club visioning? Who wants younger members? Every club goes up, every hand goes up. Who wants more dynamic leaders? Everybody's hands go up. And this is where Rotaract can be, is a new tool to add to your district and add to your clubs. It becomes a pipeline. I mean, simple. You get to have better, more experienced, newer Rotarians who already know the foundation, who already know all the, the Rotary alphabet soup, because that takes a long time to learn the difference between a DGE, DRR, like the DFF. Like, there's so many acronyms that slowly letting them introduce it is, it's to me the most manageable way.
I see where Meredith May asked, why not pursue Kilgore College? Well, I would leave that up to the Kilgore Club to pursue Kilgore College for their Rotaract program. So I know the starters are on this Zoom call. So I'm going to say, hey, starters, are you talking to Kilgore College about Rotaract? But no, we don't have to. Let's just start a community Rotaract.
And I really do emphasize that, because can you imagine running a Rotary Club with every 4 years, every member leaves? Every 4 years, you have a whole new batch and a whole new people you have to teach and orient. It is very, very difficult. It is hard to get a community-based club up and going, but university is easier to get started, but harder to maintain, where a community club is harder to get up, but easier to maintain.
Well, I have a young member in our club. I think she's 23 years old. She's been with us just this year. She was brand new this year. And she was a ranger at Pets. John Jetta knows who I'm talking about. Her name's Sarah. She's been asking me ever since she got back from Pets, I want to do Rotaract. I want to do Rotaract. I want to do Rotaract. Right now, she's our social media chair. And who would have thought we would have needed her services as much as we do when I asked her to serve in that role. But I think she's at this meeting today. There's so many of us, I can't tell. But Sarah, if you're at the meeting today, guess what, girl? You're now going to be in charge. We're going to work together and get this going.
Karen, we have one other question that just cropped up, and that's a question on thinking back to Rotaract building. Is it possible to access the district RILA email list, and what permission would be required?
I've been asked that question many times, and it goes back to, like you say, the ones, some are minors, but we've had Rotaract RILA for a long time, and they're in their 30s, 40s now. So I know we have a Facebook RILA page.
Okay.
And there's a lot of members on that page. That would be where I would start, because even if they had emails 5 years ago, they get a different email in college. They've changed emails many times. That's just like what my daughter does, and she's 28, 29. So I think working through our Facebook may be the fastest way to get in touch with everyone.
Okay.
And I'll also jump in and say, when starting to approach these, RILA alumni and whatnot, you have to sell Rotaract as something different than just community service. One thing that Rotaract has that no other young professional organization has is the access to Rotary. One, now Rotaract has access to the foundation, so they can start getting that district grant money to start doing things that most young professional organizations do not have access to. And two, most importantly, is the mentorship and the collaboration with community leaders. Most young professional organizations are all for empowering the young professional, but they don't have the mentorship aspect. People sometimes are like, oh, let's just, get a Rotaract club going because it's just like Rotary for young people. Unfortunately, my generation especially, I'm already getting pulled in every which way to do this, do more at work. My grandparents keep asking me when they're going to get great grandbabies. Like, I'm getting pulled in every which way. But why Rotaract? Why invest in it? Well, honestly and selfishly, I'm getting experience for professionalism and growing in my profession that I would have never received. I've been on leadership workshops. I've taken free courses on how do you do nonviolent communication? How do you break down difficult conversations? Those are the resources you have to sell, because if not, I can go join the young professionals of Orleans, of New Orleans. Like, there's so many opportunities. So many people want me, not to sound like narcissistic, but my population. Everybody wants an under 30-year-old. But what makes Rotaract different? And you have to sell the Rotary component without being overwhelming. Of simply, hey, you can help us with community service and we'll help you grow as a professional. And that goes a very long way, especially right now. I mean, I work more than 40 hours a week because I'm trying to impress my boss. I'm trying to get that promotion. So how can I help you to help me? And I know that sounds wrong, but a quote that my husband keeps telling me is, right now, you have to be, when you're in this developing aspect, you have to be selfish to be selfless. You have to be the best version of yourself so you can help others. If you're only a halfway developed leader, how's that going to help the community? Take the time now while you're still learning your skills and becoming the person you want to be the best leader.
I want to go back for just a second before John, just for a second. The Leaders in Service E-Club that started as a offshoot of the RILA kids. None of those people live here. They are scattered far and wide, but they wanted to remain a connection to District 5830 because of their love for everything that RILA gave them. They are open to members that have never been to RILA. They're open to anyone that wants to stay connected to 5830. But I think we need a Rotaract presence in our individual community here, Longview. And I know all the other towns are thinking we also need Rotaract in our community. So I'm going to have to sit down and give this some thought on how to take our Interact kids, get them into the Rotaract mindset, because our Leaders in Service E-Club actually serves a different purpose. It's not meant to replace a Rotaract club.
Allyson, are you aware of a community-based Rotaract club that has folded in or has a component of membership that is university students? A melding of those two, basically.
So what's beautiful about this whole changing of Rotaract, there's been a lot of rule changes and ambiguity, and I'm known for finding all the loopholes. I totally missed my calling. I should have been a lawyer to find the loopholes and everything. We are in my district right now, have a university-based club at Southeastern Louisiana University, and we are blending it. We also have a little leg up because the president of the university is in a Rotary club in our district, blending the club to include alumni and community members of the Hammond, Louisiana area. The problem with that is we're lucky in that aspect because he's the president of the university, so we kind of have a little bit of way in with that. But the Rotaract Club uses university resources, and so a lot of universities don't want to give free resources if you're not directly only involved with the university. So that's kind of a play-by-play. We're still working with the president on blending the two. One of the avenues we are trying here as well, we're doing a lot of things right now trying to figure out what the best way of change with these new changes is. There's a community-based technical school up in our district, but they're only there for 2 years. So what we're working on with them is creating a community-based Rotaract club, but we're able to go into the technical college and tell them about what we are in partnership. So again, we have a leg in because the president of the technical college is in a Rotary club. So a lot of it's that personal relationship building that I alluded to, and how important it is to start with that and start the communication. Haven't had a successful one yet. We're still working on it. We've only been doing it for a couple of months. Realistically, just so you guys can get some timelines, from when you first plant the seed of, hey, I want to start a Rotaract club, until it really becomes to fruition, the average I have seen is 12 to 18 months to be able to collaborate, to get that foundation, to get the people up and running. It really takes about 12 to 18 months to figure all that stuff out, just to kind of give you an estimated timeline.
Thank you.
Allyson, thank you. And panelists, Karen and Gay, thank you very much. Do we have any closing remarks before we transition to John Jetter and a little district finance news?
I'm good. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, same here. Thanks for having me.
And thank y'all. I've never been to Tyler, Texas, but I'm looking forward to making it up there soon. If you guys have any questions, I put my email into the chat as well as the Ascension one. Reach out. For anyone who is looking to start a Rotaract Club. Ascension, what we were created for is to be a resource to Rotaractors and Rotarians. Our committee, all 5 of us on the executive board, have created and founded Rotaract Clubs. So this is in our wheelhouse. We can set up a Zoom call where you can talk to one of our Rotaractors and get some ideas, and that's what we're here for.
Thanks.
Allyson?
Expect to hear from Sarah.
Looking forward to it.
Allyson, thank you so very much. We hope at some time you can actually come and visit us here, and we look forward to having you at a district conference at some point.
Thank you. Thank y'all.